Just at that moment, a huge figure emerged from an archway. He had a double-sized ale tankard stuck on one foot and a massive ham bone that had been gnawed clean in one hand. He was quite the largest man Ragnar had ever seen, gigantic even by Space Wolf standards, and the only one who might conceivably be called fat. His tiny eyes were sunk deep above huge, rosy cheeks. His armor seemed to have been modified to contain his massive belly, which made it something of a triumph of the smith's art.
"Did I hear someone taking my name in vain?"
he bellowed, in a voice that reminded Ragnar of an enraged bull moose.
"Was it you, little man?"
Torin grinned at the giant. "I see you are trying to start a new fashion in boots." The hulking stranger looked down and blinked.
"I left my tankard by the bed when I lay down for a nap. I must have stood in it when I sprang manfully into action to challenge any who mock my good name."
Ragnar realized that the newcomer reeked of ale. Spots of food had settled in his beard. "You know I would not do that, Hager," said Torin. "I was merely remarking to our latest recruit that you and he have something in common." Hagar blinked owlishly, as if noticing Ragnar for the first time.
"A newcomer from the blessed world of Fenris, where the cold winds scour the rugged earth of all pollution and corruption. I hear you have come to the wrong place, lad. This foul, festering sinkhole of iniquity is anathema to our kind, to the many virtues of the mighty space wolves."
"Hagar is as windy as the world that birthed him," said Torin.
"Do you mock me, little man?"
"I would not dare. I was simply admiring your new honor badge."
"I have no honor badge."
"Is it not the order of the Gravy Stain, used to mark the armor of the mightiest of trenchermen?" Hagar reached down and touched the gravy spot on his armor, then licked his finger.
"If I did not know better, I would think you were taunting me, Torin. Only I know that no man would dare."
"Your logic is impeccable as always, old friend. Now I must show Ragnar to his quarters and brief him on his duties."
"Be sure you let him know that he will be surrounded by effete cowards without the least of the manly virtues. This world is not Fenris, lad. Don't you forget it."
"I don't think I am likely to," said Ragnar. "Everyone keeps telling me about it one way or another."
"I will see you later then, and we shall quaff ale in the heroic fashion of the sons of Fenris. Now, I must see about removing this tankard from my foot."
He turned and stamped back into his room. "That was Hagar," said Torin. "He's not the brightest man who the choosers of the slain ever picked to join our ranks, but he is perhaps the bravest, particularly when it comes to consumption of ale and meat."
"I heard that,"
bellowed a muffled voice from behind the closed door.
"It was a compliment to your heroic prowess,"
shouted Torin, lengthening his step suddenly.
"I would not want to have to beat you again,"
shouted Hagar, his head sticking out of the door. His enormous bushy whiskers reminded Ragnar of a walrus. "I am still waiting for the first time," said Torin.
"What was that?"
"Go and take the tankard off your foot," said Torin, as they ducked around a corner. "He would not really beat you?" Ragnar asked. Torin raised an eyebrow. "He wished he could. Hagar is very strong, but his bulk makes him fairly slow. I have yet to lose a bout to him in unarmed combat." There was a quiet confidence in Torin's manner that was utterly at odds with Hagar's bluster. Ragnar saw no reason to doubt his words. "How did he get so heavy? I thought our bodies had been engineered to burn food efficiently. I don't think I have ever seen an overweight space wolf before. There is more muscle than fat in there, as you will find if you ever arm wrestle with him. As to his fatness, something went slightly wrong when Hagar made his ascension to a space marine. It did not show up for a long time. The wolf police merely thought he had a huge appetite. It was only after he piled on the pounds that they realized there was some sort of flaw in him. Not enough to turn him into a wolfen or get him exiled into the cold wastes, but one that made him what he is. You will find most wolf blades did not exactly fit in back at the Fang. That's how most of us ended up here." Hagar served as a member of the Space Wolves chapter during the 41st millennium. An abnormally large Astartes due to his flaw with his gene seed. Hagar's increased metabolism prevented him from staying satiated, coupled with his ability to gain weight even as a transhuman warrior. Known by his kin as the Mountain, Many were his foes who underestimated his incredible strength due to his rotund stature contained within a customized suit of power armor to accommodate his gut. Seconded to the honor guard of the Navigator House, Belisarius, likely as a result of his flaw, Hager, regardless as a member of the Wolfblade, delighted in his Terran patron's generous offerings of food and ale to prevent him from starving. Wielding his Thunderhammer as if it weighed little to no weight, the Mountain of the Wolfblade was legendary for breaking a Hellbrute's legs with a single blow, and regularly hurling his enormous weapon into his foes, alike to a comically large tomahawk. Aiding Ragnar Blackmane during his tenure spent as a member of the Wolfblade, alongside Torrin the Wayfarer and Lord Valkoth, this hulking Astartes delighted in his duty to defend Lady Gabriella Belisarius, now returned to the throne world. His friendship growing with Ragnar as their decade of camaraderie continued, the reliable giant stood by the young wolf's side, not only on Terra, but also joining him on the chapter's assault of the world of Charis. Combating the conniving Thousand Sun sorcerer, Maddox, who attempted to destroy the Space Wolves using the Spear of Russ to conduct a ritual to exacerbate the flaw of the Canis Helix, Hager fought the heretic to prevent the spread of the Wolfen Curse to continue. Mortally wounded by the sorcerer, restraining him in place for Ragnar Blackmane to retaliate. With Maddox slain by his stalwart friend, Hager rest easy, knowing his duty was done, as he warned Ragnar that should he take too long to meet him in the halls of Russ, he'd have left no ale for them to drink together. Retrieving Hager's alehorn from his body as he clasped his hand in farewell, Ragnar returned the drinking vessel to Garm, wherein the Spear of Russ was once more enshrined. Ragnar believing that despite its mundane appearance, truly the drinking horn of the Mountain of the Space Wolves was a relic worthy to reside alongside the legendary weapon of the Wolf King.